We'll just give it maybe 1 more minute and get going. I'd like to ask if you would to sign into the chat. Just give us your name and your business, and that would allow us to see what industries are represented. I know we have some other partners here as well. And we can just turn to off speaking if we don't have a very large group. We have 35 registered, so you never know what you'll encounter. Thank you all. Well, good morning. We're going to get going because I do not want to waste any of your time, and I know that you all are very busy people. We appreciate you being here for a manufacturing sector meeting. We continue to be virtual because we have felt that this has given us a larger reach and larger participation. However, I feel like we might be getting to the end of the virtual time where everyone's just a little burned out. So just to give you a little overview of why we meet and do what we do. The purpose of the sector, and this is just a review of what we've gone over before, we want to build cohesion in relationships. We want to steer educational initiatives, increase the awareness and use of state and federal workforce resources. There are many. Develop those needed industry training programs that you as business and industry need. And we want to align education with business and industry. And of course, overall, that's to develop a pipeline of training. I bring these things up because I know that many of you work locally in your own local area. There are many workforce councils and, I say smaller groups, but those are the ones that really do the work in local areas. And so we meet here as a region to share those ideas of what's going on in the local areas, as well as any kind of new resources, new ideas, new things that are happening. I encourage you at any time in this meeting to please type in the chat, unmute yourself, and share ideas, questions, comments. This is only as good as what we can make it, or what you all have input into. All right, if I can get the computer to cooperate. Here we go. I want to just hit on one thing, and I know that, every meeting you go to, people ask for your needs. What are you struggling with? Of course, the number one thing that we hear is people. But I kind of was thinking about this and broke this into 4 categories. Hiring, training, workforce behaviors, and education connections. These are the 4 things that I think that we tend to deal with the most. And by deal with, I mean connect. As I've said many times before, we don't have a product, we are a connector, and we are trying to get those of you who have a need in touch with someone that can help that need. And we're trying to link that in order to build a better pipeline. Are there any things I'm speaking directly to our industry partners right now. Are there things that you are currently struggling with that do not fall under one of these four categories? And if your current struggle is one of these four categories, could you share what it is? Anyone? Don't be shy. And I'm having a hard time seeing a complete list. So Amy or Sabrina, you all may have to tell me. May have to start calling out some industry. Crystal, Sandra, either of you like to speak to that?
Hey, this is Crystal Bryan from Stairs. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, our biggest struggle right now is probably very similar to everyone else's in that we just can't find people who want to work. The second part of that would be finding the skilled labor. Obviously, what we do is very specific, and we struggle just to find that matching skill set.
Do you all train your entry level employees?
Entry level, yes, but more of our skilled positions, we are not currently set up to do that. It's something we're working towards, but we're not
Mhm.
there yet.
And what would be some of those skilled positions, Crystal?
A machine operator and a CNC machinist.
Right. Sandra, anything to add to that or different from that?
Um, Hiring is our problem. And I think what you mentioned Thursday, we even have planned hiring and then people do not show up. And then they want to come the next day or the next day or, hold on, Jason, let me shut my door. Hold on just a minute. I'm sorry, my door was open and the noise. So, or 2 weeks later, they now have started wanting to show up when they want to, and then training. So we have trouble on both sides. The workforce behaviors, attendance, communication. If I don't want to do that particular job, then they just leave.
Mm-hmm.
And we're having to then basically rehire these same people over and over. Over and over because of the need.
Mm-hmm.
Then yes, and some skills training too. I mean, we just have trouble finding technicians, maintenance technicians, people in those skilled areas.
We are, we continue to hear the same thing. And I know that those of you who were at the Regional Workforce Council meeting last week, we went over what we called a workforce menu, and we'll pull that up in just a minute. But I talked with someone the other day, and it's like I shared, there is no magic bullet here. There are a series of many small things that we can try. And that's really what we're offering to you all is, have we tried any number of these things? Because I don't think it's one that's going to solve it all. Of course, we all hope that the unemployment benefit going away is going to add some more people that are coming through the doors. I know I saw Peggy Bridges on here, and she's with the Opelika Career Center. It's my hope that they'll start to see more people coming through the door. There are plenty of training programs that are out there right now. We've all been talking about, and I'm not going to talk too much about this, but the Alabama Workforce Stabilization Program is new, and it involves entry-level training and addresses those employability skills as well as technical skills that are needed. But I hesitate to say anything more about that until we've got some people coming through. It's all about people right now. So we are having a hiring event with Montgomery, Autauga, and Elmore counties on Wednesday, hoping to see how that goes. Who knows, really? Because there have been other hiring events that I expected there to be tons of people and there were hardly any. So, just something that we will try. The reason I mention that is, we are here if you and several others in your community want to try such a hiring event. We will be happy to help you. I'm happy to put that together. But like I said, until, we can't make people come out of the woodwork any more than you all can. So we're hoping that something's going to change on this. We're trying every marketing effort. We'll have the Career Center bus out there. Any way that we can market and try to reach individuals. Another thing that we're doing that I mentioned the other day is reaching out through nonprofits. And we'll be doing more of that, trying to schedule something on into July to make sure that all the nonprofits that are working with individuals that need employment know of the resources and know how they're connected. I think oftentimes, part of the problem with those that are unemployed or that have not had employment in a while is the frustration of trying to work through all the challenges. So that's yet another thing that we're, trying to bring the people together. Again, we don't have the solution, but I just feel like if we keep on pushing the repetitive action, then maybe we will build this pipeline, or at least this connected circle of trying to help individuals. I'm going to pull up our workforce menu and talk through that a second. There are some on the line too that have used some of these, and all right. Sabrina, I see you. Give me a nod if you see that. All right, great. We talked about training your own, the new employees that come in. The first thing I would encourage you to try to do is to see if you could use on-the-job training funds for new employees that you're hiring. The thing that you need to know about that is that goes through the Career Center, and they have to go through the Career Center and be deemed eligible before you hire them. On-the-job training is not something you can do after the fact. It has to be on the front side. So if you are at all interested in that, please reach out to your Career Center around you if you have not already. And if you don't know who your Career Center is, then reach out to us and we'll be glad to share that with you. Alabama Workforce Stabilization Program I talked about, but again, I'm going to save that, not even go there yet, because I think it's going to be a specific type of employee situation. It must be, I will give you some parameters right now though. You must pay $12 an hour as an employer. And you can be hiring both entry level as well as training some incumbent workers. So again, if that's something you're interested in, we can certainly talk with you one-on-one about that. And then existing employees, leadership training is offered through AIDT, which is actually through us right now. Leadership 1, 2, and 3, we can schedule you for a class. You can check our website to see those classes. I do want to mention one other thing though, and I have two people on the line that can speak to it, but our existing industry training program, if your company has training needs and they want to, they're specific to your company, whether it be leadership, training on a new piece of equipment, it could be any number of things. That is something that you can work with partners, specifically the community college or ATN, and work to get that constructed and paid for and get your workers trained. I asked Greg Lightvold, who is Director of Workforce at Southern Union, if he would speak to that a little bit. He's been doing some interesting things with Golden State Foods. And Greg, I'd love you to share a little bit about what you're doing there.
Thank you, Jindy. And first, let me thank Sarah Mills. She's a ton of help to me and a lot of people when it comes to how to manage grants, particularly the EITP grant. And there's a lot out there that I don't know yet, but we're keenly interested in helping existing businesses perform more competently. And I reach out to a lot of plant managers and ask, how can I help? And when you develop a relationship, you get more of a response. So we've got several things going on, but with Sarah's help, we wrote an EITP in conjunction with Golden State Foods. They've got to pay half, and the state pays half, and it works out pretty well. But we've got an 8-month gig that's so I teach the first week and the third week, and then I partner with ATN, and they have their own contract. They're right next door to me, and Amanda Riles teaches food culture. So I teach some leadership, supervisory, workforce development skills, and then some technical things like lean and SPC and precision measurement on the first and third week, 4 hours a day, and ATN teaches food safety, food culture. It's a really nice package. At the end of the day, it's very inexpensive, and the company understands, my goodness, they couldn't get 8 months of training like this for a fraction of this if they were to go with a consultant or somebody. Crystal, I've probably spent, I don't know how many days in your factory in the last 6 months working with Greg and your machinist to train blueprint reading and GT&T on day shift and night shift. And I've already written a draft EITP for Briggs and Stratton, and they like it. And we're working out a contract for some pretty comprehensive technical and, well, theirs is all technical training at different levels. So that'll come your way soon, Jindy. And I know we're at the end of the cycle and funds might be low, but I'm just going to keep sending them, and you tell me. And typically, if the grant's not awarded right away, then the company will pay, the first part, and then when the grant's awarded, we'll pick up the last part. Either way, they know they're going to get some help, and they really appreciate it, particularly when you write the grant for them. The grant's not hard to write, and in
Right.
about an hour and a half, I can write a grant that's about 80% complete, and then you just help the company fill the blanks in, and they really appreciate that. So I want to do more of that. The money's there, and we should be using those EITP grants. 15,000, I think, and 60,000 over 10 years, 15,000 a year. It's a nice deal. So
Yes, it's
thank you to Sarah
15,000
for
a
turning me on
project.
to that, and we're going to wear that thing out if we can.
Absolutely. It's 15,000 a project, and you do have to have a match, but that could easily be the salary you're paying your employees. And the 15,000, like Greg said, it tops out at 60,000 over 10 years, and then it has a reset, and you can keep going. EITP are existing industry training program. I'm trying not to speak in acronyms. But it's hard to say all that. EITP funds are state funds. The sister side of that is incumbent worker training program, which are federal funds. Those are somewhat more complicated. However, when EITP runs out, then we can turn right to the IWTP. So please don't let any of that, the complication or anything, keep you from looking into that. Like I said, we are happy to come to you to hear your needs, to see if it can be a match, and then who you would like to partner with to get that done. Also would love to hear from Nikki Butler. Nikki is with Frosley, and Alexander De Silva was supposed to be our speaker today. Frosley has used several resources, from existing industry training to they have sent some employees to the Alabama Workforce, I didn't call that right, Alabama Workforce Training Center, yes, AWTC in Birmingham, which offers training on site at no cost for you. You just have to pay the travel and the overnight for your employees. But I want Nikki just to speak to a couple of those and how they may have helped build their workforce. You're muted, Nikki. Uh-oh. Time out. She's looking.
Is it now unmuted?
No, you've got it. Great.
Okay, good. The reason why everything on this WebEx, we don't usually use WebEx, is in Portuguese. So I didn't know what to click on. So Repeat. I'm so sorry. I was trying to not knock myself out of the WebEx because you want me to
No,
talk
I
a little
just
bit about what we're doing.
I just wanted you to share a little bit about, you using the existing industry training program as well as the Alabama Workforce Training Center, sending employees there, just the ease of it. Was it difficult? Just your experience.
Okay, so basically I joined Fanai Frosley about 8 months ago. And because of COVID, a lot of things they had started, we've used almost all the funds that we can use on the state level and now looking for the federal and also trying to use some of that AWSP. I don't know if I said that right, Jindy, but we are picking up the pieces and getting folks trained. We just sent all of our maintenance team to Birmingham to that training center for, I believe it was PLC training or hydraulics. I'm not sure which one. And that one gave us that 50% half and half. I met with the Career Center with Christina, and I had worked with this program before for what Jindy was telling us about. If you have someone, they need to go through them first, and then we can hire them. And so I've got 3 people that I'm going to work through that system starting in July. We met with Christina 2 weeks ago.
She's
And
talking about on the
then we're
job
looking,
training.
yes, the on-the-job training.
Mhm.
So, and I've used it in a past life with another company. It was all very paper-based, and I'm glad to know that it's a lot online now. So it's not as labor intensive. I mean, I think it's a great program, and I've never really had a problem being behind that or getting my leaders behind it. But when you are kind of a one-stop shop, I don't have another person working in the HR field with me. It's nice to know everything's online. So we'll be starting that in the next couple of weeks. We've also, which is a little bit outside of the career development, we've partnered with, we had to do something different because of our size. I'm used to being an OEM or at least a tier 1, and our company's a tier 2. So I'm partnering with Trenum Tech to get their industrial maintenance and different other industrial or type co-op students and give them because they're required to have 72 hours, 1 credit hour. And so we've been working with them to make that a part of our DNA, that we've always got a co-op rotating through maintenance, because as everybody knows, even when I was with OEM, maintenance will go for 50 cents sometimes. So sometimes it's a quarter, and they'll go where the grass is greener and kind of go around, especially in Montgomery. Moved from Hyundai, which I was there once before, to Ream, whatever. So, and we're just trying to use the tools that we've got, that Jindy and her staff, Sarah, and everyone's made available, which my company is very open to doing, and which is great. I don't have to sell it. I don't have to keep it on the front burner. They're asking me, what's next? What's the state doing? What's the federal doing that we can plug into?
That's fantastic. And that was a perfect segue. I didn't tell her to do this, but a perfect segue into um, finding people. One of the things that I always say, you're sick of me saying it, but workforce is short term and it's long term. If you're not in it for the long game, it's going to be a really, you've got to think long term sometimes. I know you don't have enough time in the day to devote all that, but there are fantastic community colleges all across our region, 5 of them that are doing, well, actually more than that, but 5 of our I would say our typical community colleges that are doing great work and that require their students to do some type of co-op or work-based learning. So if you are not plugged in to your community college, that is something I urge you to do. When you're saying, well, there are no people. Have you talked to your educators? Have you talked to the community college, the program that would feed into those positions that you have open? Have you talked to the high school? Are there CTE programs that would feed into those positions? I'm interested, is there anyone else on the line that has done something and has been successful with that? Anyone want to speak with that? Well, I encourage you, if you don't know where to start, come to us. Sabrina works long and hard with our educators, be it our career coaches, our CTE administrators. You know, we really got to have that connection, particularly right now in the time that we have had of the unemployment and people tending to stay at home more or changing jobs. You know, sometimes it's easier to look at those that are fresh out of school or that are already in a technical program that are leading to those positions that you want them to fill. I do want to mention one thing within that is new. I know you're thinking, well, these are all the same programs, Jindy. We've heard about all these. You may have heard about them, but I want to be sure that you've tried them. If you missed my little sermon at the RWC the other day, I did preach a sermon because back when I was in ministry, people would always say, well, they wouldn't always say. There would be a few people that would say, well, I just don't feel like I'm getting fed on Sunday. And I have a friend, and her greatest quote was, well, have you tried the buffet? I always thought that was so great. You know, if you're not being fed, are you making sure that it's yourself or it's not others, it's yourself, you know, that kind of thing? Are you trying the many different things that might feed you? So that's what I'm encouraging you to do before you say there's just nobody out there. Well, there very well may not be. I'm certainly not saying that that's not true, but I want to be sure that you know of these other options, because oftentimes in trying these options, that's what produces a little pocket of people somewhere, or another way that you can train people and free up dollars to go do recruiting or whatever it may be. So as we're going into the grow your own section, you know, community college, apprenticeships, they have work-based learning, they have ready to work classes, which are those basic employability skills. And oftentimes, you know, through adult ed, there are producing people who want to, or not producing people, but, you know, certifying people who want to go back to work, possibly even want to go back in a new field. So think of that as an option. And then also within our K-12 system, you know, we work to try to start them thinking on careers early in the 8th grade through Career Discovery, the Career Tech programs. And then these are different ways that you can get involved, whether it be a tour. You know, I guarantee you that there are teachers who would love to have their students tour either virtual or in person, participate in mock interviews, all that type thing. And there are many of our schools that offer ready to work as well. If you're interested in helping build on that, then we have ways to plug you in. But new today, I do want to mention one thing before we go, if I can quit sharing and switch back. All right. Pull that down so maybe you can see this now. Fame, and if you have questions, Greg, I'm sure can probably help speak to this. There is a FAME chapter in our region. It's called FAME on the Plains, and it is with Southern Union. FAME is Federation for Advanced Manufacturing Education. It is basically an apprenticeship program, and the students work 2 days in a participating company and then 3 days in class, or it might be vice versa if they're split time. But these students are being trained. You know, this is a high level of training. This is not just this is someone who's interested in the industrial technician, you know, robotics, engineering, that type of thing. FAME started a full year ago at Southern Union. The first class had, I don't know, maybe about 8. Is that right, Greg?
5. Right now we have 5.
Okay, 5. but then has grown, you know, and it started with a higher number. And of course you have
Yeah, it
attrition
did.
through people figuring out that maybe this wasn't what they wanted. But now the word's kind of gotten around, and their incoming class for this year, I believe, is right at 20 or over, hovering right around
Yeah.
that spot. So it's catching on. Of course, it takes recruitment. It takes just word of mouth. But I do want you to know that FAME is interested in another chapter in the Montgomery River Region area, and we are pulling together an information session on July 13th. Again, this would be for your industrial technician type positions. It, you know, there are certain things that you would have to agree to as well, but I would love for anyone that is interested in this type of apprenticeship or having an apprentice in this area to come on the 13th. I'll be sending out information to all of you, but I wanted to be sure you go ahead and get that on your calendar. We will meet at Trenham State, and but the chapter, you know, this is just about beginning the chapter, setting up the chapter. It is according to the needs of the industry is what happens with that chapter. So would love to have you there. All right. That's all the information I have. I would love to hear anything from you all. As far as I know, we talked that people is the number one issue. And like I said, we continue to look for ways to get to those people. I'll be updating you more on our nonprofit project that we have going on, in hopes that we can get the resources out to the right people and help them understand that there are jobs, there are even wraparound services to help. And by wraparound services, I mean help with transportation and childcare and all those things that keep your employees from coming to work every day. So that is just some of the work that we're doing. Again, I'll be quiet. I'd love to hear any ideas, thoughts from you all.
Jindy, Greg, I'll just add two things. First, no reason for you and your team to be apologetic. The culture we're in is the culture we're in. You guys are working your fannies off to make good things happen, and we appreciate it. So it's not all on your shoulders or your teams. We kind of are where we are. And secondly, I agree. We've got to, you know, I'm learning we got to go to the buffet and take advantage of what is there, you know, and we got to make stuff happen instead of hope that stuff happens. And I tell folks, you know, they get, hey, look, you expected 19, you got 4. Do well for the 4 you got, and let's try to get 5 next time. But let's all try to keep a cheerful spirit and a glass half full attitude and make good things happen and take advantage of the tools that we have. So thank you for what you guys are doing.
Thank you, Greg, for that. You know, it is often I don't want to say a thankless job. You all know that, though. I mean, we're pushing uphill in the snow both ways, all that. But it is what it is. And you know, if we're building the workforce one person at a time, that's one person. And I think that's just the way we've got to look at it. Something you said, I was going to. I can't remember. Having a senior moment.
If you'll excuse me, I've got to slip upstairs. Good to see y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Jindy. Hey, this is Kevin Taylor with AIDT.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, I apologize. I'm actually driving, but I did want to mention that what Nikki just talked about at the Alabama Workforce Training Center, we do have hydraulics and pneumatics training there now. Both programs are 32 hours. So any company, any Alabama company can send their employees there to receive training. I know someone else mentioned too about upskilling employees. So yeah, that's a great tool that that companies are taking advantage of. So again, hydraulics is 32 hours, pneumatics is 32 hours. So that's available for you. All you need to do is just go online to the Alabama Workforce Training Center's website, and it has a calendar on there for the courses and the classes. So I wanted to mention that real quick.
Perfect. Thank you, Kevin. And that's a good, I haven't thought about that. We have not pushed that information out specifically. So that would be a good thing for us to do, just kind of a did you know, and talk about the Alabama Workforce Training Center and the classes that they can go on and peruse what's on there. That's great. I see, not to call you out, but Mr. Johnstone, tell us what company you're with.
I'm with Continental Carbon. We're in Phoenix
Great.
City,
Yes.
Alabama.
I should have known that. I was trying very hard to process in my mind and just couldn't get there,
Well,
as seen by
I
my
apologize
signature.
for getting here a little late, and then I was
No,
working my way to get to the invite to get logged into it. But I think, and again, I missed the first part, and I apologize for that. But one of the challenges that we have is, like everyone else, is looking for workers, looking for, and the problem with the challenge for us as a company or as a plant is right now we're about 70 employees, is so much of the things that we're looking for almost becomes a onesie twosie type of thing. It's hard to develop big programs because we're not a big plant, big company. And then what even complicates us more being in Phoenix City is we're kind of in the valley with Columbus and stuff. So really the employees that work at the plant here in Alabama, we're probably 60-40 split between Alabama residents and Georgia residents. So that's even makes it thinner for us as far as the pie. So is there any way to handle, because like I said, we have reached out with the different community colleges. We have worked some with CVCC. We also have worked with Columbus Tech over on Georgia side, with training programs and such. How do we handle, or this the programs are just for the Alabama residents, employees, or is there a crossing of the river?
that's a really good question, and one that I would have to do some research into. I know that yes, you can push your Alabama people, your Alabama applicants, if say you were wanting to use on the job training, you can, even as applicants come to you and, it's someone that looks like you may want to hire them, you can push them out then to the Career Center. I guess what I'm saying is all participants don't have to come straight through the Career Center. You can refer them back to the Career Center. But as far as on the Georgia side, I'd be interested to find out more about that. And Jessica, are you still on the line? She is, but she might have me muted. I believe Jessica Horsley, who's with the Montgomery Chamber, I believe she used to work in Georgia and have some knowledge of that. So I will pick her brain and see if there's some things that I'm not thinking of.
Jindy, this is Joe Williams.
Yes.
I know that Ann Carr, your counterpart in Region 6, is dealing with that very issue, because down here, of course, we also sit on the line for both Georgia and Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of, do you have a resident of another state that wants to work in Alabama, and what can these programs, can monies for certain programs be used on someone that lives in another state? That's something that Ann, I think, knows a fair amount about. She used to work for the Career Center.
She was with the Career Center.
Sarah may also know in terms of WIOA funds how that may work, but Ann is a good person to follow up with specific to that.
Okay, great idea, Joe. Yes, I will reach out to another director and see how they're handling that there, and if she's got some tips and tricks, and we'll see what we can do there. Great. Other questions, comments? All right, well, I'm not going to hold you all because I know you have plenty of people to go out and beat the bushes to find. But we do thank you for being on. Thank you for your input. That's extremely valuable. We want to do the things that are helpful to you, and that includes speakers at the Regional Workforce Council. I know one other thing that I'd love us to talk about in the future is the idea of good jobs and keeping those employees that you have happy and healthy and all those things that we need for longevity of employees. So maybe that's another topic that we'll cover in the future, because I think it's really important now as it's so competitive. You know, people, especially generationally, it's different of what people want out of jobs. And so we've got to be sure that we're staying on top of that and giving those what they need to feel fulfilled in their job life. So I appreciate it. I think I saw some questions. Crystal has a question about tomorrow, and we will, that will be an Amy question, and I'll have her reach out to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Don't hesitate to reach out, everyone. If we can help in any way, I will keep you posted on how the hiring events have gone, and you all let us know what we can do for you in your specific area. And we'll be talking soon. Thanks so much.
Crystal, are you still on? Don't think she is. Crystal, can you hear me?